Hi, this is a response to the practitioners' challenge for atheists and theists to find scientific evidence for God's existence or God's non-existence. And I just wanted to, I guess, kind of talk about the flaw in putting it that way, I guess. Um, the problem is that the question of God isn't a scientific question. The question of God, like the theistic stance and the atheistic stance, those are theological, philosophical stances that they aim at epistemology and ontology, and so ultimate truth and knowledge of existence. Um, and yeah, the problem is that science doesn't aim at truth. Science isn't about finding truth. It's about describing our universe as best we can and finding ways to work with it. And so there's no real relation there between the two. There's no real way to say scientifically whether or not there could be a God, because it's outside of what we're able to observe on a daily basis, or even on a non-daily basis. It's by definition outside of something that we're naturally able to comprehend. But putting the challenge in a philosophical category, I well, okay. The practitioner, you claim to be an agnostic, and I don't think I believe you. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Mostly it's how I know of the term agnostic. There's two kinds of agnosticism that I'm aware of. The first being soft agnosticism, and the second being hard agnosticism. Soft agnosticism is when you say, I don't know and I don't care. And hard agnosticism is when you say, I don't know and I don't think that it's possible to know. And I really don't think that you fit in either of those categories. I think that you sound a lot more like an atheist than an agnostic, because you're asking for evidence for God's existence and taking the lack thereof as inductive evidence that God doesn't exist. And just, yeah, I have to say the one thing about M theory. I actually came across a similar theory, specifically, just theoretical, philosophical theory. But it basically amounted to the same thing. It said that at some point in time in the future, it's conceivable that our technology will be good enough that we'll have processing speeds and storage space that will be able to build an artificial universe, and then that artificial universe will be able to create its own artificial universe, and et cetera, et cetera. And so looking at it that way, there's a really good chance that our universe is not the real universe. And that's probably the closest that I've come in that area as far as how the universe began. I think that it's more likely that our universe is not the original universe, which is why we don't have evidence of how something could come from nothing. We only have evidence of how something could have come from something else. And it would, I don't know, it would explain intelligent design fairly well, not as a scientific theory, of course, but as a philosophical theory of just the idea that there is a designer. It would explain why everything in the universe ultimately comes down to binary and all sorts of fun stuff like that. But yeah, you say that it's probably 50-50. I think there's probably a fair chance more that we're not in the original universe. But I don't think that that's really a theological question. I think that stance that someone else might have created our universe doesn't contradict atheism at all. Because if the thing that created our universe is something that's basically like us, that has the same power to act and the same capabilities that we have, then you could hardly call that thing God. Not in any sense of the term that I'm aware of anyway. So, yeah, creator doesn't necessarily have to equal God. We could also have been created by aliens, and that would also not equal God. So, yeah, I really don't see any reason for you to be sitting on the fence on that one. But yeah, all of your views seem to be rationalist and atheistic, so it seems reasonable to put yourself on that side of the fence. Personally, I consider myself Gnostic, which is similar to agnostic, but well, Gnosticism, as I define it, which is by no means an official term, but it's how I use it, is basically, theologically, it's that I don't know whether or not there's a God, but I do believe it's possible to know, and I am interested in trying to figure it out. So what that amounts to in practice is that I instead of trying to tear down atheistic and theistic arguments, I do my best to build them up to try to see if I can make it as close to perfect as I can. So far, I haven't been able to find any that really satisfy me, but I'm looking. So yeah. Anyway, that's kind of the whole problem that I see with the challenge. But if you do want to term yourself as an agnostic, then I would like to offer you a challenge as well to try to come up with some sort of convincing argument that would say that it's not possible to know whether or not God exists. Because, yeah, honestly, I haven't heard that many of those arguments, and I would be really interested in hearing one.